absolute heartbreak for Mikel Arteta. You can see him there and the Arsenal players. It's an awful way, Kevin, to lose any game of football.
Yeah, you know, as we saw Gabriel walking up, I think the three of us went, not a centre-half, taking your fifth one. And
yeah, I know, and you're thinking he is Brazilian.
Yeah, he just didn't look, oh, listen, anyway, you're down at that stage where all the subs made and all, you're down to some of your penalty takers are off the pitch at that stage. Neither team really, you know, came out of second gear that game. It wasn't one of the classics. I think both teams playing up to the potential. Arsenal in how they were so solid and nullified PSG. You would, from that sense, say Arsenal, their game plan really worked, and they might have deserved it because they were exceptional in how they played defensively.
Let's have a look at the last two penalties. Beraldo, the substitute, and then the Gabriel miss. So this is Beraldo.
So we're questioning whether has he even touched the ball before this point, because he's not been on long. And this is, you know, to have the courage to step up and take this when you're not being on the pitch. Maybe they put him on knowing that this is his capabilities, his qualities. And then Gabriel, who for me is man of the match, I think he was absolutely sensational throughout the games. Defensively, he was wonderful. And then to have that moment, it's heartbreaking for him, heartbreaking for Arsenal. Really tough to take, you know, and like I said, to have the courage to step up in those moments and take that on this stage there, like
that's a nice moment, actually.
Yeah, it is. Teammates, Brazilian teammates get into him and just offer him his condolences. But it's one of those. It's heartbreaking. But look at the joy on the other side of it. Yeah, it's so tough for Arsenal. They have been immense. This is the first game they've lost. They've not lost a game in
the unbeaten campaign. But I suppose officially this ends as a draw. But nobody would be thinking about that.
But it's
like watching the shootout. We were saying here in studio with Safanov, he never got near some of the penalties, and we said that if Arsenal they were going to have to miss penalties for PSG to win, and they failed to hit the target twice.
Missed the target twice, and Raya, you'd want Raya in goal for you, wouldn't you? In those penalties, you watch that one there, just watching the slow motion replay of Gabriel's penalty. We were talking before about penalties. Don't look up to see where it's gone, and if you see the slow motion of that again, he's looked up as he's kicked it to see where it's gone, and when you do that, invariably it's over the bar.
Okay, well look, it's all about winners, isn't it? Luis Enrique, PSG, they've retained the Champions League, and then it's about the losers as well, and heartbreaking for Gabriel. Look, there's heroes and villains, but for somebody to win, somebody has to make a mistake, and he made the ultimate mistake tonight in the shootout, Gabriel.
Yeah, he did, and like we said, to be able to step up in that moment, taking the fifth penalty, you know what's at stake. You know, we're going to show them all here now. Eze's as well. Yeah, it's very hard to be critical of players taking penalties, but when you the start stepping, I just feel like you lose momentum as you're going to strike the ball. Most players can smash it into the goal from there. Mendes, there's no way stop start. He just keeper guesses the right way. It's a really good save from Raya. Gets down. This is a great penalty at this stage for him to take this after not being on the pitch at all. The confidence, the execution is absolutely wonderful, and then goes to that last stage, and Gabriel, I said there's a straight start, there's a shuttle to the right, there's a little skip, and then he just leans back and puts over the bar. It's absolutely heartbreaking for him. He's arguably been Arsenal's best player all season. Him and Declan Rice, probably a toss-up between the two of them. I feel he was the best player on the pitch today. I think Arsenal defensively were superb. He was orchestrating that, the blocks, the tackles, the organisation. So it's harsh for a player that played so well to have gone and had that kind of misfortune to miss a penalty. But like I said, it's the nature of the game. It's cruel, it's really cruel, but it's also super exciting for if you're PSG.
Yeah. And there is the owner of PSG, and we're going to see the trophy being carried out onto the pitch. Alexander Schefren, the UEFA president, is there ready to present the medals, the losers' medals first of all. Well, actually, I think it'll be the officials first of all. The German referee. Kevin, what do you think of the referee tonight? He's not going to the World Cup. He's not on the FIFA list. It's crazy.
Probably because he doesn't give enough frees. I thought he was excellent there. He was brilliant. You know, the amount of times he could have blown up and stopped the game, he didn't. He tried to let it flow. And for a game, that was very stop-start in nature, in slow throw-ins and slow kick-outs and slow everything, he tried his best to keep it going. He was getting onto Arsenal for time waste, and you know, he was he let a lot go, and he got the big decisions right, as far as I could tell. The penalty for PSG and the other one, which was the possible penalty for Arsenal, which I think he got right as well.
Yeah. I think as well, what was really impressive was just before half time, he blew in the corner because Arsenal were taking too long.
Never seen that before.
Never, yeah, taking too long. And then what was it, a minute and 15 in the second half, he booked an Arsenal player for time wasting for a throw in. And you're going, he just set a stall out. He was like, okay, I'm not having this. I'm not letting you ruin the flow of the game. I know it's a tactical thing, but it's going to be on my watch. And I thought he handled it really well. So it was excellent. I thought he got most key decisions right. And Arsenal will probably feel aggrieved for the penalty. I don't think it was. I think Madueke knew exactly what he was doing, bringing the defender down, trying to get into that position. But yeah, the ref was very good.
Yeah, and like for PSG, like, you know, Luis Enrique, this is his third Champions League win. The one last year, the one with that great Barca team in 2015 in Berlin. This is legacy stuff now for him.
Yeah, after of the modern Champions League, since it's been called the Champions League, I think in the early 90s, it's just them now and Real Madrid who've won 2 in a row.
Yeah.
There's been a lot of great teams in that era, and he, Pep Guardiola couldn't win 2 in a row as a manager with the Barcelona team or the Man City side he's had now, and Luis Enrique has gone and done it with this PSG team who, this time, a year ago, before they won that final, there was still massive question marks about it. Now all of a sudden, this year, they have 2 Champions League. It wasn't the prettiest tonight, but they've gone and done it. And him, whether he stays now, because he talked about this as a sort of a project.
Yeah.
And he's basically completed the project in the couple of years he's been there, and he seems like the type of manager who moves on and wants another project. So whether he stays long term here or not,
actually, that's interesting. Like he managed Spain, he's the national team. As you say, does he want something totally different?
Possibly
a smaller team to try and bring them, because they've built a different team. They've still spent money on it, but it's not like Galacticos at Real Madrid.
No, you feel that the makeup of how PSG the last 2 seasons, the team ethic within that group of players is huge, isn't it? It's completely changed from these superstars individually to actual team.
Yeah, absolutely. With Enrique on the pitch, it's the 3rd penalty shootout that PSG have won this season. They started the European campaign beating Spurs in the Super Cup on penalties, and then they beat Flamengo in the Intercontinental Cup in December on penalties as well. Not that that's anything remotely like what they've just gone through in the biggest game of the season as they win back-to-back European titles. It's amazing for him. And I know, look, that it's a 50-50 thing, and the penalty shootout could have gone Arsenal's way easily enough. But for him now, this puts him in that elite group.
Oh, he's absolutely etched his name in the history books when it comes to football. They were the best team throughout the course of the. As soon as it got to the knockout stages, I think PSG have been the most exciting team. They've been the best team. Their attacking threat has been wonderful. Defensive, they've been solid. Them and Bayern, for me, were the 2 teams that look like you felt it. But Arsenal, to get to this stage and to have done it without losing a game, to have been as organised and difficult to play against, and tactically, they almost got it perfect today. They almost got it spot on. They scored so early, which was playing absolutely right into their hands. They were able to organise the defensive stability, their organisation, their discipline was incredible. Like I said, if you want to analyse that and look at the way they played in their shape, it was beautiful to behold from the defensive piece. It wasn't great to watch as a spectator because PSG just couldn't break them down. But then PSG just persevered. They stayed at it. A few bookings came into the game, which slightly changed it, and then they get the penalty. And, with a team like PSG, they didn't really go for it in the second half. And I thought in extra time, Arsenal with those fresh legs could have gone for it more. I felt like they could have, because I don't think Kvaratskhelia was off, Dembele was off. Vitinha was off. Those players that really control that middle of the park and cause you problems were gone from the team. So you felt Arsenal could have gone for a little bit more in the extra time with what they had on the pitch.
Did you feel that, Kevin? Could Arteta be criticised for being, not being more offensive with the attacking talent that he has?
I think we saw in the semi-final with Bayern Munich, who have more attacking talent than Arsenal, and went toe-to-toe with PSG. What happens when you do it? I think he made the right call tonight. He didn't double up on their wingers. They're 2 wide men, Kvaratskhelia, Dembele and Doué on the other side. He tripled up on them. He just shut them out of the game. Kvaratskhelia had one bit of good work, which was the penalty, where he didn't actually dribble himself. He did a 1-2 and got it back again and got taken down. But they did such a good job on the most exciting front three in football who, you know, didn't get a sniff all night. It was so close to perfection from a defensive. From a watching as a neutral, not the greatest show on earth, but from a tactical, disciplined, try get the best out of your team to win and beat a certain team. It was really good.
You go from Bayern PSG in the semi-final and the first leg to that, you're going, well, but you have to appreciate what Arsenal did. You have to appreciate how they went about their business and how, like I said, how much work they put in shutting down spaces, cutting off the lines of pass, reducing the space between the lines so that PSG couldn't operate in those areas. You know, it was a really, really solid defensive display. But it was just in those latter stages where I felt Arsenal have more on the pitch going forward now. In extra time, I felt Arsenal had more players on the pitch that could cause you problems. And you don't want to lose it, but also if you don't take that risk, you don't win it, and they end up losing it.
Because that's one of the things that you look at that Arsenal team now and the money that's been spent on it, that the squad is very deep. Like the players who came on, you know, really quality performers.
Yeah, they have the better bench, or we felt they did anyway. They brought on quality players, a really strong squad, a strong bench. Once, like PSG had then Kvaratskhelia was gone off, Dembele was gone off, Vitinha was gone off, Marquinhos was gone off. Their big guns were gone, and that was Arsenal's chance if they were to let the handbrake off, if they were to have a go, because they didn't have the same danger at the other end, PSG. They didn't. They were in that mindset, I suppose. They were in there, listen, get through it, keep it solid. And when you're in that mindset and you're in that way, it's a development they have to learn. We have the quarter-final, semi-final, now beaten in the final. Maybe next year we'll see the next development of Arsenal Football Club where they can take the handbrake off in a game like this.
It's a learning curve. OK. Yeah, that's Peter Schmeichel, who has won Champions League winners' medal from 1999 in Barcelona. Back-to-back, that's exactly what they've done. And that point, Stephen, that he makes about the age profile of that Paris team, it's a very young group still.
It is, yeah. Marquinhos being the senior leader, now he's 31. But the way they managed him this season, we talked about beforehand, he only played 14 league games. So they were doing everything they could, so he was fit for the Champions League, so he was ready to go, so he could lead that line and be that experienced player. But you throw into the group of players, they have Zaire Emery, Doué, Barcola, Vitinha, Neves, you know, and even you look at the stars and Kvaratskhelia, Dembele, Hakimi, they're all 27, 28, they're like peak level of age. But the demand that's on this team is huge now. Can they go a third time? Listen, that's going to be very hard, I think, to replicate, but they show at times how good they are. They are a wonderful side. Today wasn't them vintage PSG from what we've seen over the last couple of seasons, but still enough to get the job done. Yeah, like at times in the first half particularly, they got very frustrated. I don't think I've ever seen a team kick, shooting on goal and put it over the top of the bar so many times. It was just bad decisions.
Yeah.
That's a frustration.
Frustration. Arsenal were doing a good job. Yeah. You know, they were frustrating them. When you have a really organised team, really good defence, everyone behind the ball, and you're a sort of an expressive team like PSG, and you want open spaces, you want space to run into, it just becomes frustration. You start shooting from distance, you start doing things you shouldn't do. Wingers were coming inside, balls were coming into the box, Dembele was out wide. They were just getting bogged down and frustrated and running out of ideas in that first half. One bad decision from Mosquera, one silly decision, because they were going nowhere, and even if he'd beaten them, Kvaratskhelia had got the ball in the 1-2, he wasn't in on goal. One bad decision let the whole team down there. I think it shows you the level of concentration and how good defensively Arsenal, that it was just that one decision that they got done on, because the amount of times that PSG tried that, like a little give and go, or someone tried to spin space, but they were so organised. When the ball went behind them, there's 2-3 in space. Every time Kvaratskhelia came inside, we were saying, what he's going to do, and you can't stop him. But what Arsenal did is, as soon as he came inside, two players came out and pressed him. It was incredible how organised they were, how disciplined. But it's hard to do that for 90 minutes. It really is. And when those players went off, you think, now let the chain off. Let yourself go. Keep possession. Put the pressure on them, and that's where you would have liked to see them turn the screw slightly, and they didn't, I don't think. OK, well, let's hear. He had to go off in the match. He had an awful-looking injury on his shin. Yeah, well, there you go. There's the moment that Gabriel missed the last penalty in the shootout. The pressure on the Brazilian, absolutely intense, after Beraldo had made it 4-3. And look, the contrast with Arteta and
his coaches. Heartbreaking for them. We're yet to hear from Mikel Arteta, but when we do, we will bring you his comments. As you can expect, the guy's going to be absolutely gutted. Let's go back to the very start of the evening, Kevin. 6 minutes in, Havertz scores a fabulous goal.
Yeah, really good run and finish. Basically, it was a clearance, wasn't it? Clearance that came back off Trossard.
Yeah.
Possibly, maybe came back off his arm, but he didn't know much about it. And it was a really good finish. Nowhere, you think, in those situations, in your head, you're saying, keep it low and hard, keep it low and hard. And he doesn't. He puts it in the one place he can score, in fairness to him. Again, a good run. You wonder, does he have the pace to stay in front? He does. Contrary to what Barcola did for PSG in a similar position in the second half, blazed it high and wide. He just puts it in probably the one spot he can score. Really good finish. Didn't think he was going to start, and he proved in that first 6 minutes why he did start.
Yeah, for sure. It was a fantastic finish. And then, look, the Arsenal discipline starts. You were saying, Stephen, that the efforts that it takes physically to do that, you described it as a training ground drill where it's backs and forwards. And
it is so hard to constantly be shifting back and forth, and the other team has possession, and it's a concentration. And then as soon as the ball comes into your space, you have to jump and try and put pressure, and you drop back in, and then move across, and you jump and back in. It's so tiring. It's unbelievable how draining that can be. And it just takes for one moment to switch off, and it causes the team to get in. And that's it for Arsenal to do for as long as they did. And I think PSG were guilty of not moving as quick as they could have at times and not operating the space, but Arsenal were defensively brilliant, and it just took that one lapse of concentration from Mascara. It gives the penalty away, and that changes it.
Let's have a look at this. This came after 65 minutes, the challenge, and we'll talk about the possibility of him being sent off and all that stuff, but that didn't happen.
And it's a like give and go. Skelly, we've seen this so many times, but just push it around the corner. The thing is, Dembele flicks it back into him. They haven't covered the space in behind, which they've done the whole time so well. Haven't got the numbers there, and then he just dives in, and it's such a bad decision. Listen, you're not winning the ball. There's no way you're winning it, but he just gets a rush of blood. Feels like he can go through him to get to it. It's 100% a penalty. There's no even question about it. Yeah. And the other question was that he's booked at this point. Great penalty from Dembele. Again, the pressure to step up and take that. Kamsi slots into the far corner. Keeper dives the wrong way. But, I think Arsenal were potentially lucky that he wasn't off, because he got booked early on in the second half for that throw-in for taking his time. And then, that potentially could have been a booking as well.
Yeah, so Luis Enrique with his family. You mentioned about Mosquera, and we saw the time-wasting tactics, which you see so often, but Arsenal wound up the referee to such an extent he wouldn't let them take the corner at half-time. This is early in the second half with Mosquera. So it leads to the question, could he have been sent off, or should he have been?
Yeah, it was straight away. He was letting them know at the start of the second half. He was getting frustrated at the end of the first half with Arsenal, and he let them know straight away. Listen, if it's normally anywhere else in the pitch, it's a yellow card there. I'm not sure of there is that double jeopardy thing. If you get a penalty, you don't get a send off.
He knew.
So
he knew. He's looking at, but then they make the change quite quickly after that, because they know that if you're PSG and you're going for the game, you're going to try and take on that winger the whole time. Yeah. You're going to try and isolate him one-on-one and then make him make a foul. And Arsenal Timber actually came on and did really well for a player that had been out for a long time. I think he missed.
No, he was excellent when he came on.
He's been out since March. He came on and did make a difference. And it's at that point you feel like, I thought PSG could go on, but Arsenal stepped up a little bit, and you kind of think they've got momentum, they can go, and they just didn't really grab the game as much as I felt they could have, because I think PSG were waning physically at that stage.
And the risks were bringing Timber on. He had to bring him on though, and I know we could see he was rusty. He hadn't played in 2 months, and he several mistakes which almost let PSG in from him. But that's the risk.
That's the risk. That's why he didn't start. And you're thinking, can he make the distance at this stage? He did, in fairness to him. I thought he did all right, Dara. I was surprised he was as up to speed as he was. Yeah. In general, hard to fault any Arsenal player tonight. I thought all over the pitch for what they are, where they are, I thought they did excellent. You'd be looking more at the PSG team and how, they've won, but some of their big names didn't sparkle. Now, Dembele, he didn't touch the ball in the game. He was very poor, but then he set up that penalty with the 1-2, and he took the penalty. Yeah. And it takes a big player to step up and take a good penalty to keep them in the game. Well. When things aren't going well, your confidence isn't up, you haven't got a free-flowing game like they like, getting in behind, having the run of it, didn't have it, but big moments, he was there and he was important.
So I think for PSG, every time you watch PSG, you're excited because you think the players are going to be skillful. They're going to be taking people on. They're going to be scoring goals. It's going to be free flowing, and that wasn't the case today. And as much as that was PSG, that was Arsenal stopping them.
Yeah.
So that's where you give the credit to Arsenal for what they did. And tactically, they almost got a spot on. The early goal just played into their hands. And to lose on penalties is really tough because I don't think if Mikel Arteta went and did it again, I don't think he changes it. Maybe at the end he slightly says go for it. But I don't think he changes.
Okay, all right, got it. The PSG chances, they did become more plentiful as normal time wore on and then in extra time, but there's some really good chances for them here.
Yeah, Kvaratskhelia, while he was still on the pitch, was the one time he broke and got in. Gets unlucky. It was a really good. Was it Gabriel got back? Was
Lewis Skelly gets a touch on it,
gets back, just gets a touch on it. It did open up a bit for PSG in the second half in comparison to the first half. This is the one Vitinho. Goal does really well. Vitinho needs to hit the target there. And this is would come off the bench. Barcola. Yeah. I thought he could have done better. I thought he could have done like Havertz in the first half. He cut out to the left. He needed to cut across a bit. Gabriel does really well in his recovery run, but I felt, and in that one, if he commits to it, the centre forward has half a chance of getting there before the goalkeeper. Said we have a lot more to show of them in the second half than we did in the first half. But it's more Arsenal changed and they changed, and it's a bit more open. Again, nothing really clear cut for either team.
And in that the Ramos chance, like he was conscious that he was going to be, if he had followed through, he thought he was going to get smacked by the goalkeeper.
I think it's one of you're watching going, it's a Champions League final, just throw yourself in front of that ball as it's coming in, because if you get there in front of the goalkeeper, it's a header from a few yards out, but he's conscious. I think he's anticipating the keeper missing it, so it falls in his hand instead of just trying to get across him. But fresh on the pitch, you want your forward diving for that.
Yeah, that's the next thing now, the World Cup. Huh? Arsenal, absolutely. We still haven't heard from Mikel Arteta. I'm not sure what sort of interviews he's done with the local broadcasters there or with the English broadcasters, but we'll try and bring that to you before we go off air, if we do indeed have the opportunity to show you an interview with Arteta. Look, on another night it goes another way. On another night they win the penalty shootout, they're Champions League winners.
No, listen, they were up against last year's winners. Said the two-time winners now. They were up against a top team and made them really, really have to dig deep. They've just won the Premier League. The monkey's off their back. I think it's a great chance for them now to push on again from this. They do need to strengthen. I think they can. Gyökeres is good and effective, but I think they can strengthen centre forward. I think they can strengthen in a few positions and push on from this again. But I think they can be proud of how they performed tonight. So it wasn't free-flowing football, but it was what they had to do to try to get a result, and which they.
You mentioned about the progression under Arteta in this competition, and guys like Alex Ferguson used to talk about having to learn how to play in this competition, how to deal with it. And okay, it's been reshaped over the last 2 seasons, but that's their record, Stephen, under Arteta.
Listen, for Arteta to get them to a Champions League final to coincide with the same year they've won the Premier League is amazing, because to do both things, to be fighting on both fronts for so long, this competition starts really on. There's extra games in it due to the nature of competition now. The Premier League, we know that's exhausting as well. At one point they were on for all 4, up until really recently. And they were on for both cups as well. So for him to have got to say, listen, they're going to be devastated. They're going to be absolutely gutted that they haven't got this over the line. But if you said to any Arsenal fan that you're going to win one of the 2 major trophies at the end of the season and you're going to lose the other one on a penalty shootout, you take that all day long. This is progress for them. They finally got to that stage where they can call themselves champions, to the dismay of the league and other people like myself being Spurs. Tottenham fans. Listen, we were lucky to stay in it, so it's one of those. But if you're Arsenal, it's progress. It's moving on up. And you've seen they've missed out in the Premier League on a few years in a row. They've come second, and then they've grown and they've done it again, and then they've gone and won it. Maybe that could be the same for the Champions League. They've come second. Maybe all they need is for this to realise what it takes, and then next time they learn and they go again. But it's a huge season for them.
Yeah. Are you talking about spending, another couple of 100 million? They did spend a lot.
Well, they'll need to keep themselves there. And I think we looked at how they've evolved in the Premier League, evolved in the Champions League. I think their next evolve, and Arteta, I'm sure is probably in improving their style slightly. You know, they especially second half of the season, they just wanted to get it over the line. They were ignorant, they were ugly and effective. The same again tonight in large parts, but I think the next stage for them will be to evolve a little bit in their style of play and be a little bit, you know, whether that's the players they sign, to be a little bit more offensive, a little bit less reliant on slowing the game down and slowing down set pieces and annoying teams in that sense. To be, listen, I don't think they're going to be a PSG in how they attack or anything, but just to bring a bit more style to their play will be the next level. And the fact the monkey's off their back, if they had to pick the two, Premier League or Champions League 2 weeks ago, I'm sure they would have picked the Premier League to win. This was a free game tonight and they did themselves justice in it, didn't win it, but I think going forward that'll be the next evolving of, well, that's what I'd like to see if I was an Arsenal fan or as a neutral watching, just to bring a little bit more style to their play, because I think it's there and the players are there if they add a few more to it.
Do you go with that, Stephen?
Yeah, I think every team wants to evolve and move on, don't they? I think it's hard. I think it'd be hard for Arteta to then go and try and rip the playbook up on what's been a very successful season so far. I think there might be tweaks, there might be changes to it, but I don't think you'd be going, like, he's not going to go to full Pep style of keeping the ball. I just can't see it, just because when you get success with the way you play, you try and replicate that, don't you? You try and go again, and you try and build on what you've done. Yes, there's going to be times in the game where, like I said, if they had been able to change from that defensive mindset to be when they had the players in the pitch that they could have gone won that game, in those moments, if you can do it, but over the course of a season, if he thinks this is the right way to play, that's what way you stick to. So,
okay. Fair play to him for coming out and facing the media at times a bit. The questions were a little bit on the odd side, but he's talking about the Madueke penalty appeal. Now again, they were behind it.
I can see why he got so frustrated and thought it was from behind. It does look like it's only when you see our angle and you see Madueke catching
grabbing his arm.
I can't remember which PSG player grabs his arm and pulls him down. So I think we all agreed it wasn't a penalty.
Cool. Okay, very good, guys. Thanks a lot. That's it from us this evening.